In the last video, we created the armature for our character. In this video, what we're going to be doing is we want to apply our bones to our character mesh, as well as make the bones move a little more naturally using bone constraints. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to parent our bones to our character. Now I'm going to go into object mode, and I want to select, one second here. So I want to select my mesh first. Then I want to select my armature second. Now, selecting those orders, I'm going to right click and go to parent. And I want to parent it with automatic weights. Now, for this particular demonstration, it'll be a pretty easy parenting job. And there might be other times where you really are have a lot of bones really close to each other, a lot of really high density mesh, but in this case we don't have a situation. So let's go ahead and choose automatic weights. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my armature one more time, and I'm going to go into pose mode. I'm just going to move something. So I'm just going to go ahead and rotate this jaw, for example. And as you see, when I rotate the jaw, the character's jaw moves. So you might want to test it out with a few different things. You know, if I want to move this whole entire thing, that looks pretty good. If I move the tail looks pretty good there. One thing I did notice is this flame is kind of a little odd. And actually, I'm going to go to my object mode, and I actually don't even want this flame at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the flame here and just delete that. That's just something that, you know, I didn't really think about, but because later on we're going to be putting in our own flame in Unity. Now that I have the character rigged up with the bones, I can start to, if I need to, I could start to weight paint, but in this case I'm not going to weight paint. I'm going to use what are called constraints to make the neck move a little more naturally, and actually all the bones move a little more naturally. So I'm just going to show you an example here. If I do a pose mode and I were to rotate the neck, let's say if I just want to rotate the neck up or down, it looks a little bit odd, right? See how much the neck rotates, how it all kind of just stays. And just imagine, like, if you were to look at your hand and you were to move a finger, now try to move a finger with only moving one joint at a time. It'd be a little odd, right? So, but typically what would happen with anytime you move a long chain of joints would be, you know, they kind of all move together. All of them will slowly move or rotate at the same time. And that's what we want to do here, is make them all rotate simultaneously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off one joint above the rotating joint I want. So for example, here I want to rotate the neck joint. So I'm going to start off at neck joint 2, or neck 2, I guess you could call it. And then we'll go to my bone constraint properties on the right hand side and add a bone constraint. And I want to add the copy rotation constraint. Now here it's going to ask for both the target and the order. So the target is just our armature. So that's our armature there. And the bone, I'm going to type in neck 1, or you can also just find it. So neck 1. And you'll initially see it kind of changes things. But let's go ahead and change that target to local space and change the owner to local space. Okay, so now if I were to rotate my neck, you'll see that that green joint also is rotating. It looks a little more natural now. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here for this next joint. Add bone constraint, rotation, and let's go ahead and make that the armature. And we'll go neck 1 as well. And again, local space for the target and local space for the owner. And so now if I were to rotate this, see how the neck moves a little more naturally. Whereas before, it didn't quite have this nice movement. So that was pretty good there. I'm pretty happy with that. Now I don't necessarily know if I need to do that for the arms. I think the arms aren't going to be moving a whole lot, and they really don't have a chain of movement, or the legs, but I do want to do this for the tail and the wings. So I'm going to show you how we can do for the tail. Where, you know, with there being 5 joints, it'd be a little bit tedious to grab each one of these joints and apply that. So let's go ahead and just first grab tail 2 joint. I'm going to go to my constraint panel, our properties panel. I'm going to go to copy rotation. Again, the target will be the armature. The bone will be tail 1. And then the target should be local space. The owner should also be local space. And so let's just go ahead and test this out. If I have to rotate this tail a little bit here, you know, it looks pretty good. I think it's pretty good there. Now, if I want to copy this to the other one, so I'm going to start by selecting from the back of the tail, selecting forward by holding Shift. And once I get to this green bone here, I can then go to Pose up at the top. And I want to just go to Constraints and copy constraint to selected bones. So now they all should have the same constraint. And so now if I were to rotate the tail, oops, let's go ahead and rotate it. See how it moves a little more naturally, which is what we're looking for. Alright, so now we're going to do the same process for the wings. So armature, I'm going to type in, I think this one will be wing 2. So we don't necessarily want to go to wing 1 because that's right there, and that's not really what we're looking for. We look for this bone here, which is wing 2. And then I'm going to again change this target to local space, and there you go. And then select these additional ones, go to Pose, Constraints, Copy Constraints. And let's go ahead and just test this out. It looks like it's working pretty well. Yeah. So repeat the process over here. Clear armature, wing. Make sure, so one thing I didn't think about is you'll have both the left and right wing. So make sure you're going to the correct wing. So wing 2L. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and just select those additional ones, only Shift, and then so this looks a little strange. Now the reason it looks strange, and let me go ahead and do this, is because I did not set these to local space. I set to world space. And there you go. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and move these wings. That looks pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, and so I think really from here, this is all we're going to do as far as rigging this particular character. Now, if you wanted to create a controller in which you can manipulate things by grabbing the handles, you definitely can do that. I'm not going to go over that in this particular series. I think that's a little bit longer process than what we currently have as far as timeline. But you know, it's a pretty effective way of you know, you can fly around if you need to. You can do quite a bit with the constraints that we have created. So, you know, whatever it might be. So I'm going to save this here, and then in the next chapter, next video, we will actually get into doing 2 animations for our character here.